Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of the Successful Franchisee's Beautiful View. And you won't want to miss a second of my conversation with Rudy Ruiz, who transitioned from being a firefighter and fire chief successfully through the Maxwell Leadership series to now he helps organizational leaders of all sorts. Sit back and relax, grab a cup of coffee, and enjoy our conversation. Please like, subscribe, share the video, and leave a comment down below. Enjoy our conversation. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Successful Franchisee's Beautiful View. And I'm excited to bring you Rudy Ruiz, not only because he is a fire chief brother and has that background for many, many years, led teams from volunteer departments all the way to a paid department in the Toledo and Michigan area. But now he's made the switch into being a business coach, a business strategist, all kinds of other things that I'll let him explain. Rudy, welcome, and thank you for joining me today.
Well, thank you, Luke. I certainly do appreciate it, and it's great. Always been great to talk to you, and I really do appreciate our friendship.
I do as well. Thank you, sir. But tell me, how did you go from being a fire chief and now a Maxwell Leadership certified leader?
Yeah, so it's very interesting. When I first became fire chief, I knew, and I read all the Maxwell books and listened to the tapes. Back then, it was tapes, right? And didn't have podcasts or anything like that back then. But I really appreciated what he had to say about being focused on your leadership abilities. When I first became chief, I thought, man, I really got to make sure I can capitalize on all the resources that I have available to me. So I found out about the John Maxwell team. Back then, it was called JMT, John Maxwell Team. And I went to its conference, and it was a certification program. Very expensive to get involved in that, but I did it because I knew that he was a good leadership guru, and I learned so much from there. And then as you progress into his program, you go from certification to mentorship to executive program. So I didn't go into the mentorship right away. I just got the certification, which is how to build myself, how to build my skills. And then the mentorship program is how do I teach others on building their leadership skills. And then the executive level is how do I run a business so that I can teach others to build on their leadership skills. So that's where I'm at now. I'm part of the Presidential Advisory Committee. We create content for all the certifications for the John Maxwell team, now called the Maxwell Leadership Certification. And so, yeah, I've been progressing all along. So I've been at that for 12 years now. So, yeah, so doing some very, very cool things.
That's outstanding. And who do you work with that you have the most impact?
So we work with people all over the world. And so I'm currently working with a partner out of California. And we're doing a lot of things on helping people build their businesses, which is how we kind of got together, and helping people build their teams. More importantly, how do you provide resources for yourself so that you're better prepared to run your business, run your team, run your organization? And what are some very specific things you need to do? So I personally got into, as far as running your organization, running your business, how to conduct strategic plans. What do you need to do in order to make sure that you're better prepared for the future, and a consistent reevaluation on what that looks like. And then we got into team development. Obviously, you can't do it by yourself. You have to have a solid team together, and who who's going to do what in what position. And I'm not talking about you got marketing, you got sales, and you got operations. It's all how do we function as an organization to build a better future for the organization as a whole. And then we get into leadership coaching because you know as well as I do, the CEO has a lot on their plate. They need to make sure that they take care of themselves too, their health, their wellness, their family life, their faith, those types of things. So all that comes together. So the one thing that we really focusing a lot on is how to build a team. So, or how do you build your team in order to stay progressive, not just for the bottom line, but to make sure everybody stays happy in an organization, right? And there, for the most part, people, when they leave their organizations, because they don't feel appreciated, they don't feel like the boss has ever really thought about me as a very important part of the cog in this organization. Because they're like, well, you do this, and that's all I need for you to do. Well, they have so much more available to them. They have so much more that they can possibly give to the organization. And if I could spend a little time on the acronym widget, I'd love to share that with you real quick.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Pat Lencioni has a book out called The Sixth Working Genius, and everybody has two uh, geniuses, two competencies, and two frustrations. And the way it works is that if you think about your organization, you think about the person who is that likes to wonder, that comes up with the ideas. Say, I wonder if we could have a better way that Luke and Rudy can communicate with each other. I wonder if there's a different way that we can share this information, not just in Ohio, Northwest Ohio, but around the world. What kind of ideas? Those are the person that has those ideas, right? And there are some people that are very, very good at that, but some people that aren't very good at that. So if you have someone in your organization that has that, you want to incorporate that in part of your overall team. The next person is the one that has the invention or the I, and the acronym is WIDGET, WIDGET. So the individual with the I is the inventor. They say, you know what? You're right. It is a good idea to have a venue for Luke and Rudy to get together. I have an idea. There's this thing called Zoom out there that they can record and they can blast it out on the internet and it reaches everybody around the world. So they have the invention piece to it. Okay. The next group is the galvanizers. They're the ones that say, you know what? It's a good idea. I like how you're going to incorporate it, but there's something in my gut that says it's not going to work. Because how do you get it out there? How do you get the people to really to watch that video? How do you get them to even find out how to find it? It's something about it's not anything to do with the mind or my experience. It's just something in your gut. You ever get that feeling when you get something in your gut and you think, this just doesn't seem right. So those are the people that are I'm sorry, the discerners. So those are the people with the that have the discernment. I think I got a little ahead of myself. So the G is the galvanizers. Those are the folks that say, okay, uh, it's a good idea. It's a good way to implement it. The discerners say we can make it work because they have a gut feeling about it. So now the galvanizers say, okay, let's just do it. Let's just put it out there. Let's have some recordings going out there. Let's put it on a regular schedule. Let's make sure that we put it on social media. And they're the ones that are starting to put everything all together, right? And the enablers, or the E, those are the people that say, and it's not a negative enabler, it's a positive enabler. Those are the ones that say, okay, Luke, I want you to do this. Rudy, I want you to do that. Sally, you're going to have to do this. And we have to make sure we have the social media page. We have to make sure we update it, make sure that recording is solid, make sure that we edit it, make sure that the music is perfect. Those are the people that start to do all the work, right? And assign all the people in the right places. The T are the tenacity folks. They're the ones that say, all right, let's just get it done. Let's just make sure it's out there, make sure everything is on schedule, make sure that the recordings are all set, and make sure we get this finished. Now, what happens is Luke, you have two of those acronyms as your genius, two of those as your competency, which means that you're okay with it, but you don't really specialize in it, and two of those as your frustrations. Now, for me, I'm a GE. I'm a galvanizer and an enabler. I like to get people excited. I like to get people ready to go, and I like to tell people where they need to be in order to get things done. I'm not a good wanderer. I'm not the ideas kind of guy. And I'm not a tenacity guy. I don't like to get things, I don't like to just focus on getting things finished. I like to move on to the next thing. Now, the problem, give you an example. In my business, I have to run all my books, right? I'm not big enough to have someone who is an accountant or a bookkeeper. I
Hmm.
have to do it myself. But I hate doing taxes. I hate doing all the bookkeeping, but I have to do it. So my because I don't like to do it, I should either get somebody else to do it for me who enjoys doing those types of things, or just put myself in a situation. What I do is I every Friday from 10 to noon, I just do all my bookkeeping. That way I know that I get my mindset straight. I know I'm supposed to do this, and by 12 o'clock I'm done, right? Now, if you were to give me a job has to do with bookkeeping or writing taxes, that's my frustration. So if I always have to do that day in and day out all day long, I'm gonna get burnt out and I'm gonna quit, right? So in most cases for your audience, if you have someone that or if you are doing something that you don't particularly care to do, or that you're always doing something that is part of your frustration, then you're going to get burnt out quick. Now, it could be your competency, which means you can do it, you don't mind doing it, but it's not what you really enjoy doing. Do things that are specific to your joy or your genius, whatever it may be. If it's something that you like it to teach people, to encourage people, or come up with the ideas type of person, that type of thing, focus on those. And then put the other people in those other places. Whenever you come up with a plan, you're planning on what we're going to do for our next project, right? Get your team together and make sure that they're in the right place so that it'll progressively grow. One problem is that if you have the boss that's a wanderer that likes to come up with these ideas, by the time let's say you're starting a project and you're at 30,000 feet. The analogy is a plane. Now you got the inventor, the galvanizer, the discerner. You're starting to land this plane, right? And now all of a sudden, the boss says, "Wait a minute, I have another idea. Why don't we incorporate this?" Now you're doing this, right? You're starting to land a plane, and you got to go back up and start all over. He's the boss. You got to listen to what they say, right? But if you identify everybody's genius, you can go to the boss and say, "Boss, we understand. We don't need your wonder right now. We're at tenacity. We need to finish this first." Okay, I understand. So you're not offending the boss. The boss doesn't feel offended. He understands how this whole thing works. Understands we need to finish this. We need to land this plane, and everybody understands each other. You never get to the point where you say, they never do anything. We're trying to come up with these ideas, and Luke doesn't have any. It never comes up with any ideas. Well, that's not your genius, right? Your genius is doing something else. So you don't get offended. You're familiar with the terminology, and the team ends up being a much easier when they come up with these programs, and things seem to flow a little bit easier. That make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense and also sheds light on some of my frustrations back in the day. So back in my corporate days, how does this type of and it's fantastic and I love the breakdown of it. But how does resource management consultants help smaller businesses with this type of theoretical to practical?
Sure. And if you're talking about a small business, say 4 or 5 people, obviously, maybe you this would be a good program to incorporate. But what we try to do when we go to talk to those types of businesses, we want to focus on what individual skill sets that they have, and also talk about where they're bottlenecking or where their frustrations are in running that business, and helping them change their mindset. We talked earlier about the way when you're looking at when you're constantly worrying about things that could potentially happen in the future. Well, I don't know what the economy is going to be like. The stock market is starting to go down. I don't know how we're going to come up with our next product line. I don't know if we're going to be able to continue with the customers that we have because their resources have become limited. So we talk to them and kind of walk them through that whole process and say, basically, don't worry about something that isn't there, or don't worry about something that could potentially happen or not happen at all. Focus on what you got going on right now. What are some of the joys that you have going on right now? What are some of the things that are going in the right direction? And focus on that. And now you can start building your strengths on that to be better prepared for the future. So instead of worrying about something that not even there, or let's say there's a good story by there's these two monks that are walking through the forest, and part of their faith was they couldn't touch women for whatever reason. They just can't touch women. Now, I wouldn't be a good monk in that structure, right? But the story goes that they're walking down the forest and they come across this creek, and there's this woman that's stuck in the middle of the creek, and she reaches out. She says, "Can you help me? I can't get across." It wasn't deep or anything. It was just she was stuck. So the two monks look at each other. Of course, they can't touch women because it's part of their faith. But the one monk grabs her, picks her up, carries her across the creek, and basically helps her with the issue. Now she turns around, she says, "Thank you very much. I really do appreciate that." And she goes on her way. Well, the second monk thought, "What are you doing? You're not supposed to touch women." So, but he didn't say anything. So they go on about their day, and the day goes by, the next day goes by, and he's still wondering why did he do that? He knows he's not supposed to do that. And third day goes by, they set up camp, and in the evening, he finally comes up to me and says, you know that that's part of our faith. You weren't supposed to touch women. Why did you do that? He said, he's the first monk said to the second one, "I did that because she needed help. I picked her up and I put her down. I stopped carrying her at the end of the creek. Why are you still carrying that thought that is still bothering you?" And he realized, you're right. I've been carrying that negative thought the whole time when he should have just made it clear that right after he carried the woman across the creek. And that's what we do sometimes, right? Sometimes we worry about things and we carry them throughout our day and then throughout the week, the month, and sometimes even throughout our lives because of things that happen to us. Why are you doing that? Because ultimately it's affecting you on how you can produce or how you can become a more advanced as the days, the weeks, the months go by. So we help people with that, how to let go of those things that should no longer affect you, regardless of how little it is. But where our minds are designed that way.
Well, and I'm curious because you're touching on one of the key factors for a leader of any organization, let alone a business, is self-awareness.
Absolutely.
And how do you help a business owner recognize the fact that something that happened 15, 20 years ago is now a limiting belief for them and holding them back from moving forward?
Right. Yeah. And I tell you what, when we do our coaching sessions, we dig really deep. We ask very specific questions to get there, and we can do it in a very short period of time. There was one example of a firefighter who desperately wanted to be a fire chief, and so I said, "Well, let's have a coaching session." And we met for a few times, and he had a hard time with the promotional assessment, the written task, the assessment. He never really did very well, so he wanted me to coach him on how to overcome that hurdle. So I asked him several questions, and I said, "So why do you really want to be a chief?" And come to find out, his father was a chief, and his father before him, his grandfather was also a chief. And he liked the fact, he said, "I love the fact that when I was a kid, I grew up in that environment. We had cookouts together. We went to softball games together. We would go to the bowling alley in the fall and the winter together. I love that family atmosphere that the fire department provided, and I want to get that back, but I can't do it unless I'm a chief because that's in his mind, that's what you had to be." And I said, "Well, first of all, you're looking at this the wrong way. You're doing it because you think that you have to be a chief in order to get that camaraderie together. The second reason was it was a volunteer department that his father and grandfather were part of. He's now in a career department. Those are two different dynamics, right? Two different environments here. So he was trying to force this square peg into a round hole
Right.
until I got him to realize that that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to bring you joy. He was trying to make somebody else happy as opposed to making himself happy. So we ask some very poignant questions and we dig deep into what's actually bothering you. And for the most part, 9 times out of 10, like you said, it's probably something that happened years ago that you're still carrying around. You don't think about it at the time, but you put yourself in a position because this happened. This is how I have to be. This is my sense of punishment. Sometimes we punish ourselves, right? I can never have that because man, I really screwed that up last time. I can never be happy because every time I get together with someone, I always screw it up. Sometimes we self-sabotage our environment, right? Whether it's relationships or health, and those types of things. So we dig deep into find out what this is really all about, get that out in the open. And I tell you what, there's some times where people get really emotional because I finally get down deep into those very specific issues. And ultimately, they become better people for it. Better businesses, absolutely, yes. That's part of how the results are. But more importantly, they're better people for it, and they build better relationships. You know, their faith, their family, and their health. And of course, the money that's a big part of it too. So those are the big issues that we typically deal with. But you know, we enjoy doing those types of things. It brings me joy to see someone finally break through that issue, and I get emotional too, you know, and I think, wow, that sounds great, and we're gonna get through this together. And ultimately, we make better people for it. And then they want to give to other people. So that's my reward. The fact that, you know, you and I working together, you know, nothing monetary about it. Just two guys that have always done good things for other people and that want to continue doing those things. So that's what I want to be a part of, and that's what brings me reward.
And you and I could talk about this kind of stuff hours on end for weeks on end, Rudy. There's no doubt about that. But we do need to sign off. What would you like to for folks to know in this brief period of time while we touched your iceberg that I haven't asked?
So what I want people to know is that there is hope, regardless of what's going on in this world right now, or in your community, or in your business, or even in your family, in your personal life. There is hope. And you can get better. You can do things for yourself to make your lives more enjoyable, healthy, happy, and whole. You know, my word for this year is elevate. That everything I do is to elevate others, to elevate myself, to elevate my family, to elevate my finances. It's all about helping others grow, and I'm here for you.
Outstanding. Rudy, thank you. And what's the website for resource management consultants?
So it's Rudy Ruiz Consultant, RUDYRUIZ Consultant.com. And most of that is the fire stuff, but you can get a hold of me there. Or you can email me at Rudy Ruiz, RUIZ Consult, just the singular.com. And you can reach me through that email. And I'd be more than happy to have a nice conversation with you and help you grow.
And I'll have all that information in the comments for anybody that wants to talk with Rudy. Thank you, Rudy. I appreciate you being on today, and we'll have you back real
All
soon.
right. All right. You bet, Luke. Appreciate it. Take care, everyone.
Thank you all for watching this episode of the Successful Franchisee's Beautiful View. Stay safe and win every day.